but people neglect the back end of it. And they keep pouring more money and more money into the cold calling, the cold texting, direct mail, which is all, again, you do have to do that, but don't neglect the back end, which has the most value. Those leads are worth a lot more to you. And that's where you can grab 30, 40% more deal flow from that back end.
Welcome to the Generations of Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Derek Dombeck, and today's topic is something that really doesn't get talked about enough, and that's nurturing your leads, following up with your leads, and staying in front of your leads the right way. So we're going to have Paul Campo come on, but before that, we also in this episode touch on negotiations. Most of you know I do have a negotiations course. It's at nomeansnotyet.com. Go check that out. Part of nurturing your leads and getting those leads is then actually knowing how to convert, how to talk, how to negotiate with the sellers. So check that out. Anything else I can never do to help you, connect you in any way, shape, or form, again, don't hesitate to reach out. Go to derekdombeck.com, thegenerationsofwealth.com. There's ways to contact us. So let us help you. And with that said, let's bring on our guest. And here he is, as promised, the expert, Paul Campo. Mr. Paul, thank you so much for being on the Generations of Wealth show.
Thanks for having me, Derek. Appreciate it, man.
Why don't you just start us off, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and man, I'm going to pick your brain like crazy today because I love your topic.
Yeah, so appreciate it, man. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about follow-up, we're gonna talk about copy, which is not a it's not really a sexy topic for investors. They just want to know how to close the deal, how to negotiate better, et cetera. So, but I'll tell you that follow up is is been my bread and butter as far as winning more deals, bigger deals, and just been in creating this product and service that I have called OmniDrip. So I started off flipping wholesaling property, mobile homes. I was buying doing Lonnie deals, so buying the trailers, fixing them up. And well, Lonnie deals you don't fix them up, but fixing up trailers, selling them on owner finance. Doing the same with land too. I had a land business called Land Getaway, but I sold the URL and that was doing well for me. But I kind of got pushed, not pushed, but just fell into the rabbit hole of copywriting, and that happened because accidentally fell and got a little job, a little gig with Carrot.com, Trevor Mock. I was working with him in developing copy for their clients. And so that was my first like venture into copywriting. From there, it just kind of escalated. I started diving really into copywriting. I mean, there's, if real estate investing is a whole little niche in information. There's all kinds of information books. Copywriting is a whole another one too. So there's all these old school guys teaching selling techniques and all that. So I dove into that and started taking on little freelance work. Was the most interesting job related to this podcast is I was putting together direct mail packages selling hotel developments, like big hotel developments in Vegas. One of them was just a block away from the Strip, and that was fun. That was cool. But the biggest thing that I saw, opportunity I saw, is a lot of investors struggle with the whole follow-up. Like, what do they say besides, "Hey, are you still interested in selling?" Over, over and over and over and whatever. You could spin it. You can have ChatGPT spin that all kinds of ways. Still the same thing. It's self-serving. Doesn't give any value. You just become more of an annoying pest than anything else. So I developed a whole system based off of copy principles, based off of selling principles, of following up with value, bringing up benefits, and getting an investor's feelings out of the picture. Because I remember when I first started, I was struggling because I remember sitting in my car and I had Podio at the time, the CRM Podio, which was I'm not a fan of. I mean, people, it works, whatever. People using it, it works. But back then, that's all you had. And I had drip automations. I had a form of drip automation that they had at the time. And I remember sitting in my car. I had my list of leads that I got from direct mail, and following up with them. But I had my list, and so I'd call Mrs. Sally, and right before I call her, I'd say, I think she doesn't feel like selling right now, so I'm just gonna move her over for another 2 weeks. And I would keep doing that, letting my feelings get in the way, not having a organized system of follow-up. And I think that's like, if there's anything that I can bring as a lesson or tip for people listening, it's and you always hear this cliche of developing systems. I mean, everybody talks about systems, but if you don't have something that is like, a way of doing things, right? Instead of just, I'm going to get my car and just go down the list, um, you're going to let feelings get in the way. You're going to you're going to bypass. If you don't have a script or a certain quick questions you're going to ask the person, not necessarily a script, but a framework, you're going to let feelings get in the way and possibly lose deals, opportunities that I lost. So that's, I saw the opportunity because a lot of people were asking me, a lot of investors were asking me to create some kind of follow-up system, some type of automation, copy-driven text messages, emails, scripts, etc., that helps them and their team follow up, in a systematic way that actually brings in more responses.
Yeah, and I can tell you from, well, my couple decades in the business, I'm guilty of it just like most of us, right? We we have the best intentions of following up and then we get sidetracked, whether it's an email or a phone call or a tenant issue or fill in the blank with whatever sidetracks us. And before you know it, that property is gone and you missed out on it. What I am curious about is, you start with Podio. I know, the CRM I'm currently using, there there isn't a whole lot of customizable things that I can do because I'm not a copywriter, right? And one of the things that I'm want to know from you is when you're stuck with a CRM, and I say stuck, I shouldn't, but when you're with a CRM and you just use their canned text messages or their canned email campaigns or whatever, and I'll use the one that I used to use as an example, which was RealFlow. RealFlow, you could customize the emails, but again, I'm not a copywriter, so my drip campaigns were kind of shitty, right? But it was better than nothing. So, did you design this to be able to, plug into other people's CRMs? Like I know you've got OmniDrip, which we're going to talk about, but how does that plug into some existing CRM?
Right. So yeah, I don't sell software, so it's not another software because I just didn't. Yeah, that's not what I was trying to sell and get in the bit. I mean, I certainly can go and sell a software CRM and say that it's exclusive. My copy is exclusive to this, but then I wanted to do something a little different. So yeah, I look at me and my team and I as CRM experts. All CRMs are kind of similar in a way. It's what nice features and bells and whistles they have and how they lay things out and what they call things, right? So people call it drip campaigns, or they call it workflows or automations, etc. So it was just a matter of us getting familiar with CRMs, and I've been in 25 now, I think, plus CRMs, probably more than that, from the biggest ones to the ones I've really, never heard of or anybody else has heard of. And they all function somewhat similar. Some have better customer service, better features, but yeah, we can plug into any one of them as long as, there's good automation in place. No, what makes a good, I would say what makes good CRM automation is that you have, obviously you have the ability to send auto emails and auto text. That's like number one given. But surprisingly, I've come across some that don't have that ability. But also sending notifications. I'm a big believer in like still making manual phone calls. Every once in a while, I'll get people who don't want that. Like they're like, I just want to like send a ringless voicemail. They want to like, and it's like with today's AI. revolution, I don't know, AI movement. I'm going to say that like all these new AI tools is raising the bar, and it's saturating the market already. We're starting to see it where more people are coming in, and it's easier for new people who have like no sales background, no marketing background, to go and start calling people, with these AI calls. So I think we have to start adding human elements now to get away from all this tech that people are using to speed the lead, to get to this lead faster for data, for follow up, et cetera. So I do add human touches to make sure having your team or somebody else making manual calls, but also in between we've got branding emails, branding texts, texts that bring value, texts that mention the reasons to sell to you, mention your unique selling propositions, and we could talk about. I'm throwing a lot of jargon out right now, I
Mhm.
know, but the important part is, look, there's a seller. 80% of the people, these leads that you have in your database, there's only a small percentage that are the hair on fire leads, the ones that they need to sell yesterday, and those are the ones that everybody goes after. Great, tie those up in a contract. But there is a large percentage that just there's whatever crap is in their way that they can't sell right now.
Mhm.
Um, and those are the ones that a system, copy driven, that brings value, that ups your brand, that brings credibility, that helps you sell along the way. When they're ready, when they're finally over that fence, right? I was just shopping for life insurance not too long ago, and it reminded me of the whole REI industry because I put in my name into a form, like a lot of these homeowners do. They put a name in the form, and all of a sudden I'm getting bombarded by 3 or 4 different people, emails and texts from life insurance companies, and they're all the same mantra, hey, are you ready for that quote, et cetera, just the same. And I'm just like, I had to I got tired of it. I was like, I put that to the side. I just had to escape from it for a bit, and I ended up going with somebody completely different. So somebody that wasn't long story short, it wasn't any of those people, but it really tired me out listening to the same mantra of, hey, are you still want to quote? Hey, we're still here for you, etc. I'm upping the game here when it comes to a little better copy, a little better value to sellers.
So if we kind of pick apart a campaign, like how long do you run a follow-up campaign? And if that sequence was going to be a combination of text, emails, a personal phone call occasionally, what do you suggest for
So
duration?
that's a really good question. So I right now in our system we use about 26 different sequences. So it may sound like a lot, but all of them make sense. All of them because like if a seller says, "Hey, I'm going to fix the house myself," okay, perfect, great, great, awesome. Well, we have a sequence to put them in because now I have something to leverage. I have an objection I can leverage, and I can subtly make little like with that type of sequence. For example, I'm going to fix the house myself. I'm gonna do tips campaigns. I'm going to send them, hey, make sure that you let your insurance know about this. Hey, make sure you're using people with the license or insurance, right? Or insured, etc. Hey, here's an article on five of the biggest rehab items that give you the most bang for your buck. Things like that. Um, while that one is going to probably go out for the cadence. I'm putting myself in a seller's shoe, and a seller who tells you that in 3 months, if they haven't swung a hammer yet, it's most likely they're not going to do it.
Mhm.
So I'm putting myself in that picture. Okay, what's happening in that timeline? I got to make a lot of assumptions. Of course, marketing, you do make assumptions, but I'm making estimate because I was a rehabber. I was a motivated seller. I had houses sitting on the market. I'm still paying all the fees and expenses every single month, and it's not selling. I got to keep dropping my prices. I've had that. So I know what a seller is going through in those different scenarios. So somebody who enters into the timeline or into our database right away, like a brand new lead, I'm going to be pretty aggressive. Like, so I have a digital forms lead. or digital leads a sequence that it has like 7 steps on the first day, and second day might have 5 to 7 steps, and that goes on for about 2 weeks of every day having a step. Now that sounds like a lot, but everything is conversational. Right? If I send a text, I might send another text that says, "Oh, forgot to mention, here's our calendar link. If you want to get your quote faster." I'll send, oh, here's our article on how we buy houses, or what our price is going to look like. Um, so everything's so if you notice, my call to actions are different. I don't have like the same nuance, like, hey, reply back to get a cash offer, or hey, call me to get a cash offer. I'm trying to drive different actions, clicking to get it on our website, looking at our seller reviews, etc. So I don't really answer your question about timeline. It all depends. I mean, like that one will go for maybe 45 days, but then this is really important for everybody to listen. You don't have to make it go 3 years out. You can just have a task at the end of your sequence, like say it's a year long. That's usually like how we set it, a year long. That says, hey, do something with this lead. This lead has been in your system for a year. Check to see if there's still even a lead, if they still have a property to sell, and then put them into XYZ sequence. And you can keep doing that over and over again, but it's important to put a checkup on these leads, because then what will happen is, if you have 1,000 leads all in automation, getting texts and emails, your deliveries, your deliverability, and we talked about this, your deliverability score is going to tank. And then you can't get anything across because you're just sending stuff to people who don't exist anymore.
Well, and that's something that I've struggled with. You and I were actually chatting before we started the show. I've had that problem because a lot of my emails that I've had over the years, they weren't double opt-in emails, right? So you can get blacklisted on these email servers, and we have sending domains and different things that we now can use, but to the average one man or one person operation, if they're just using their primary email address and that's what they've used their whole career for years, and that gets, blacklisted, it's burnt, it's junk, right?
Right. Yeah. So delivery is important these days. I think a lot, I see this misconception, and this isn't true for, text message and email, they function under the same rules. So they're not different. And so I see a lot people like, well, let me try to finagle here the words to see if my text message gets through. Words matter to some extent, but it's only 20% of your delivery. The rest is like your reputation, of your domain, of your phone number. I'm not gonna get into that. That's like tech babble. We're not gonna get, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I just want to let people know, don't worry too much about words. Worry more about like how you function. Like if you have 1,000 leads you're blasting, that might be a problem. If you have 1,000 leads in your database that are all automations and have been for like 2 years, that might be a problem. So.
Yeah. And just to be clear, and we're not giving anybody legal advice or anything as far as what you should do or how to do it, as far as the laws. Whenever you listen to this show, it could have changed by then, but you have to be careful texting people. You have to be careful cold calling people. At the time we're recording this, there has been some change to the cold calling. There was a court case that came down in an appellate court, which sounds like we as investors can call people on the do not call list because we're not soliciting to sell them something. We're actually trying to buy something from them. But again, this is not me telling you you should do it or shouldn't do it. That's still a choice. But I guess talk about the texting a little bit, Paul, in your experience. And again, you not telling anybody what they should or shouldn't do. But if you text somebody without their pre-approval, what's the penalties of that? Should you do it? Should you not do it?
Yeah, so I don't know the legal ramifications of that. I do know that there's a lot of CRMs that just won't even allow you to send the text. So I'm going to give you advice. It's not legal advice, but it's just advice of what I see to get an actual result, to get a text message through. And so I'm not a cold text SMS marketer. I don't do any of that because that stuff's always changing. But when we implement our follow-up system, all our content, articles and texts and emails into your CRM, I'm operating under the assumption that these leads that are coming through, they have given some kind of, hey, yes, I'm interested in what you have, right? So like if you don't do that, like imagine you being put in, you put yourself in their shoes and you get a rant, and I get these all the time. Every single day I get somebody who I have no idea who the heck this person is. I just hit the spam. Okay. Now you could operate in that way. That could be your business model. There's a lot of business models that way. And then you just go and recycle into a new domain. You do the same thing, right? I do cold email myself. I'm not suggesting anybody do that, but I'm doing it. I do it as well, and I get that whole business model. But if these are leads that I'm talking about follow up, which is a whole nother. It's probably worth the most value to you is following up with leads that have said, yes to something. Either you did a cold call to them and they said, yeah, I'm interested. Bam, you have a lead that gave you a permission, to further continue the conversation, right? Those leads are worth the most money. Those leads, it's costs you far less to get a deal out of those bundle of leads than blasting out to a huge number of people. And granted, you still have to do that. You still have to do cold lead generation. You still have to do that. But people neglect the back end of it. And they keep pouring more money and more money into the cold calling, the cold texting, direct mail, which is all, again, you do have to do that. But don't neglect the back end, which has the most value. Those leads are worth a lot more to you. And that's where you can grab 30-40% more deal flow from that back end. In fact, if you go to my website, I have Adam Whitney of Seven Figure, or he runs Blackjack Real Estate in Florida. He's been a customer of mine for 2-3 years now. And he keeps saying the same thing. He has a video on my website about how 40% of your deal flow, 30 to 40%, I don't remember the exact number, of his deal flow now comes from the follow-up that we added into his system. I don't know if I answered your question, Derek, but I think I shifted over to like how important the follow-up to getting the inquiry, the yes, and then having a system for getting them to respond with that follow-up.
Yeah, I was just going to jump on my pulpit a little bit and preach too, because, I have negotiations training that I put out there called No Means Not Yet. And it's the same thing. Why spend all this extra money bringing in more and more leads to number one, not cultivate them and follow up with them, but number two, once you actually get to talk to that human, know how to talk to them. And it pisses me off that people spend no time honing their skills to negotiate. Instead, they'll just go drop more money on marketing. It doesn't have to be a big numbers game if you actually take care of the warm leads that you already have and then know how to actually talk to those people. So
Yeah. I've seeker shopped a lot of investors, and 9 out of 10 times the cadence of things really looks like, I do the speed of lead is good. Most of them are pretty good. I get an immediate text. A lot of times I don't get any email at all. I don't know why they don't use email. Email is an easy way to layer in more branding about yourself. I don't use email so much. See, I'm going to transition into difference between marketing and sales and how to utilize it with follow-up. Okay. So most of the time, what investors are doing is they're putting on their salesman hat and then they're following up as a salesperson. So that means that their emails are all one-liners that say, are you still interested in selling? A direct question of some sort, which, hey, that can work at the right time, right? I'm not saying they don't work, but for 80% of the people who just like when I was shopping for insurance and I was getting bombarded, I put it to the side and said, forget about life insurance for now. And I went a week or two without even thinking about it. A lot of homeowners are going to be like that. And so what I'm suggesting is get your salesperson hat off, put on the marketing hat instead, and think about how can I add value into this follow-up sequence? Because most of the time, what I see when I secret shop is I get a call attempt, I get a text, hey, when's a good time to speak, right? Great intros, but then it stops right there. Nothing else, unless it's maybe it's another text. Are you still interested? Are you still interested in a cash offer? Emails never utilized, but email is like a great marketing tool. It's a place to bring in problems and solutions, to talk about problem solution. It's a place for consumer reports, a place for adding articles, etc. So I might be throwing a lot of jargon in, but email is really a great place to add information. Not so much text message. I don't cram like in a text message. I don't cram long paragraph of what we how we can buy houses. I don't do that. Text message. I generally what I do is I take one benefit, one feature, and that's what I'll highlight. For example, if it's an owner occupant, I'm going to make assumptions here, but I'm making assumptions based off of the experiences. Hey, I'm just letting you know that with our service or with our offer, you can leave all your unwanted things behind. There was when I started, I remember I was struggling. I had no sales background. I came from pipeline construction. I was a welder. I've dug holes for a living, and so I had no sales background. So I was struggling talking with sellers, and this old school investor pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, I want you to write down 100 ways that you benefit a seller." And that was probably the most like impactful exercise for me. And I started writing every little thing that we do. Well, I look back today and that was like perfect sales fodder and marketing fodder for all this follow-up content because because we tend to assume and take for granted like how much we know about what our cash offer brings. But the other person doesn't really know that, doesn't really, or they forget all the little things, all the little features and benefits that that we can help them with.
Mhm.
So my follow-up system reminds them of these things, brings into the table, here's what we can do. So yeah, that's a little bit about inside look about how I create this content.
The difference between a good deal and a great one, it usually comes down to what you say and how you say it. That's where Elite Negotiations Academy comes in. We help real estate professionals master the art of negotiation through real-world coaching, live deal analysis, and breakdowns of actual calls. Learn how to control the conversation, build trust faster, and close deals without leaving money on the table. Whether you're talking to sellers, buyers, or lenders, this is the skill that pays for itself. Try it out. $49 per month for your first 3 months. Visit EliteNegotiationsAcademy.com and start negotiating like a pro.
Well, and I'll give it out a couple times, but everybody can go to thegenerationsofwealth.com/OmniDrip and get linked over to Paul's stuff. And I'm gonna kind of go back a little bit in time with your experience as an investor, right? Buying and selling, because I think that's important. I've hired marketing companies for several years and have been just disappointed time and time again, right? It's always these empty promises, but they weren't real estate investors, right? They were just quote unquote marketers. And everything that they say, and this is more on the front end. This isn't the follow up, but this is on the front end to bring in leads. And everybody always says, well, it's going to take 3 or 4 months to get ramped up, and by that time we'll be bringing in X number of leads, and you should be able to convert a percentage of that, right? And I've been through at least 4 companies that you waste a shit ton of money for 6 months only to find out it's not working the way they promised, and then you start over with somebody else. And that's where I like talking about what you do, right? It's all about the follow-up, and we're preaching a little bit about what we already did. People just go and spending more money to get new leads and not taking care of the leads they already have. But what as you were, buying land and doing Lonnie deals and everything else, um, what gave you that experience the most? Was it learning it on your own? Was it hiring other people to figure out how to get those leads in? How did you actually get your deals?
Yeah, well, back then I was doing direct mail. I was
Okay.
doing direct mail. Um, it's, it's more saturated than it was. This was 2015, 2016-ish when I launched my first direct mail campaign. Um, and I was door knocking. So I door knocked quite a bit of foreclosure houses and probate houses, executors. And that was a fun, quote, fun journey. So I would say I got my experience as far as, because I do make, going back to follow up. So I do, some people will ask, well, is there like a tax default sequence? Is there a divorce sequence, bankruptcy sequence? I don't have any of that stuff except for two, and I'll explain those two. And the reason why is because I'm kind of going off topic here, too, but I'll come back to it. Like I'm not, I don't like bringing up like their terrible situation, their bankruptcy, their divorce, kind of weird and awkward. A lot of these things all fall on like whatever situation, I can always like bring it down to certain key benefits, certain key features. So, a landlord that is has tenants in the house. There's a long list. No matter what, if he's in bankruptcy, no matter if he's it doesn't matter, right? There's a long list of things how we can help him with that have nothing to do with his bankruptcy. So but there are two there are two situations in which I do have a specific sequence for, and that's foreclosures and probate or inherited houses. And the reason why I have it that way is because I door knock those, and those are just a long sales cycle, right? Those are very much value driven, much more tips campaign, much more about giving value throughout the journey because I know I'm not going to get the deal this week. I'm not going to tie it up this week or even this month. It's going to be 3 months from now or more, depending on your state. So yeah, so I created the sequence for that. Now, to tie it back, how was I getting my leads? Yeah, direct mail and door knocking, and referrals. When I transferred over to doing the Lonnie deals, I would just go to the parks and meet with the managers, and the SEO too, SEO as well. I started getting my hands dirty with SEO, and I had a high ranking site for that as well. But for land, I was primary direct mail. I think things have changed now. Last time this was 2019, 2020, so several years ago, and direct mail for me was very easy at the time, but things have changed. So did I answer? We kind of get into the cold lead generation. Now, I do want to say about lead, now to tie it into copy, and your problem with the marketing, especially upfront marketing agencies. And I think that I've worked with direct mail companies as a copywriter. There's one in particular that I've designed a lot of the direct mail. They're cold lead generation, direct mail, and we've tested out different things. So we've tested out like long form. Now, I'm not saying long form is never going to work, but at least at the time we've tested it, and and the short stuff always outbeat the long stuff as far as cold generate lead generation goes. I have and my theory for that is that, and this is important, I think important lesson for a lot of people is that when we're doing lead generation, we're not looking for a deal. We're looking for somebody who's a seller, the bottom line. And so I think when you start getting this long, lengthy explanation of trying to convince them to sell, it just it goes over people's head, right? We're just trying to get a seller and then go from there. And that's like, I think that's an important sales lesson because I've seen people that say, I'm struggling finding a deal cold calling. Well, that's your problem. You're looking for a deal with cold calling. You're not supposed to be looking for a deal cold calling. You're just supposed to look for a seller, and then the negotiation begins then, or I should say the qualification begins then, right? It's all these little steps we have to sales call to actions we have to make. Are you a seller? Are you qualified? Now can we start the negotiation? And then that's some things I implement into my copy as well. So when it comes to follow up, so.
Yeah, I agree. And people ask me because I do a lot of creative deal structuring and I love it. And they're like, well, how do you market for creative deals versus a cash deal? No different. You're
Yeah.
just looking for somebody to start a conversation with. You don't find creative deals, you build creative deals through those conversations. And I agree with you 100%. To go out there and target people and put them on the spot, puts them on the defensive, and they don't want to call you. Maybe it's embarrassment. Maybe there's 100 reasons why they wouldn't. But keeping it more vague, I've found has worked better. For us, direct mail really fell off when COVID hit because most people were on their computers. Digital just became cheaper and a better response. And we still do some mail, but not nearly the amount we did back then, for sure.
Yeah. 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 People have asked me to like about looking for creative deals. Like, oh, what can I want to create a letter. And I don't really do like freelance work, by the way, for if anybody's asking about doing direct mail, unless it's with like a print shop or something. Um, how do I want to look for owner finance deals? And so they want to go into this, they want to create this letter that's really specific. I'm like, this like, I think you're going to scare off somebody trying to convince them to accept the idea of owner finance or any kind of creative deal, or doesn't matter. And yeah, number one step is find that seller. And you know what? I implement this into follow up, meaning like there's steps along the way. When somebody's a lead, they're in our system. The next step is getting an appointment with them, either on the phone or whatever your however you structure your business. But that's my number one step. So in my call to actions, if there is a call to action in the text, is if they haven't been on an appointment, that's gonna be my next step. Okay, so I want to get them into an appointment, right? Wave some curiosity to at least see the offer. I want them to see the offer at least,
Mhm.
right? And then, going down that pipeline, we have all these little gates to open, all these little gates we have to, as they progress down our pipeline until finally deals close. And even then, when the deals close, we still have more selling to do. I promote always getting a review and getting referral. I'm a big believer in that because if anybody goes on my website, I'll see a huge wall of reviews from people, and 80% of the time, people do business with me because of that. And that's the same with your sellers. The sellers want to know if this is legitimate. So I try to promote as much reviews as I can into the follow-up. Hey, this is what a seller said about us. See our wall of reviews here, etc. So I at the back end, I have a system, or at least a bare minimum system for somebody to start collecting reviews and referrals. Referrals isn't a big needle mover, but I mean, if you're doing, let's just say at a low minimum, you're doing 10 deals per year. You might get 1 out of 20 that has another seller, a friend, a family. It's well worth just adding the simple question, 3 months, 6 months from the deal's close, do you know anybody else that's looking to sell?
Yeah, I've had some of my best deals ever came from, a random phone call and they said, "Well, Susie told me to call you. I don't remember who Susie is, but I obviously left value enough for her to pass out my phone number." And those are the ones that are really great because, your friends, your buddies will be like, "How did you get that great deal?" I just left value for somebody in the past named Susie. I have no idea. But you're right. It doesn't hurt you to ask the question. And 9 times out of 10, it probably will get you nothing. But that one time, if it's one deal a year and that's 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, um, covers a good chunk of your marketing, depending how big you are. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and more important, and also importantly, to have a system of follow-up, having things tight as far as your conversion machine or system goes, is referrals. We all know referrals are the best type of deals, right? But people who are going to refer to you, like I'm talking about agents, professionals, lawyers, etc. People who have an interest in referring to you, they might secret shop you, and they would, some of them will. They might secret shop you to see who this guy is, and go through your whole system and see, or maybe they have somebody who went through it. They have a seller that went through it, or and to see if how well does this guy do? Is a nuisance, or does he have actual value behind the scenes?
so with, with what you do, if I'm just a one-man operation or a one-person operation, I'm not techie, right? I'm running a CRM like, REI Black Book or Resimply or whatever. Um, I come to OmniDrip through thegenerationsofwealth.com/OmniDrip to make it easy for everybody. What does that look like for that person that's going to take you on, or bring you on, I should say?
Sure, it could be solo, it could be somebody with a team. I mean, I have a mix of either one. We're gonna set so they're going to what we're gonna do is I'm gonna talk to them because I'm gonna put my copywriter hat on and my framework is semi-custom. It doesn't mean that because we have hundreds of pieces of content, articles, text messages, emails, follow-up scripts, and that we put into the tasks, voicemail scripts, and we don't go in and write every single one of those. It'd be a different business. But instead, I talk to the person to understand what his business is like. There's people that are national, there's people that are agents, local. They all have their own unique selling prop, or they have their own specialty sort of or uniqueness that I can use into the content, right? How they buy houses, if it's face to face or it's 100% virtual, right? All that has to be congruent with your follow up. And so so they fill out a form. We have a software that matches everything up and they get semi-custom. If we have to build anything, we'll build something. I mean, write something. When I say build something, write some new things. And then we go ahead and we install it into the CRM for them. And then we show the team and the person how to use it, which is really simple to use. We'll actually like drop real leads into these sequences. Let it see, have it work in real live time. And that's pretty much it. Usually it's anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, depending on, how fast they cooperate with us, how fast they give us login access, because we need to get on their website, add content, add special links and everything. It's the whole boat. I mean, it's not just, oh, here's a template for you to add in. No, it's a whole system so that everybody is on board. Everybody understands the CRM, understands the system, and how to use it. I want to make sure that it's being used and that it's working as well. So,
Well, probably the last thing I'm going to ask you about is how are you using AI and what's your future outlook for using AI within your business? Like
yeah.
we are trying to embrace that as much as possible, and of course it's ever changing on a by the minute, literally. But what do you see advantages, disadvantages?
Yeah, AI, it's gonna all destroy us. No, I'm just kidding. No, no, I mean, I do have like, so AI is interesting. I like it to an extent. But there right now, like right the AI agent, right, at the time this video, the AI agent, Chat GPT agent has gotten big. I mean, I hear about it. Um, though I have, right now it's not like that great. It's kind of clunky, like from what I'm seeing. Um, so, there's always an early, early setup to these things, meaning that like at first it's really not working very well. How I use it for OmniDrip is I've tried to create my own. I've tried to create my own like Chat GPT or projects, Claude uses projects, and where I have my little mini copywriter, though there's still like issues with it. So how I use Chat GPT for my own business is really just proofreading. Um, it starts to go on it starts to go on its own tangents when you make it do large projects. Like if you want it to create 100 emails, you're gonna what you're gonna find is you're gonna find it really deviating and really starting now it's gonna like ask it to be a direct response copywriter, be a copywriter and create 100 emails for you. You're gonna find the most sell because you have to understand these AI models, they scrape the averages. So what is the averages online? Okay, what is the copy online? Well, it's really salesy type of copy, to how are you going to apply that to a motivated seller? Hey, act now to get your offer today. Reply text, reply fast cash. That's the kind of stuff sometimes it does implement. It'll start deviating and start having that stuff into place. So that's why I don't really use it to create copy as of yet. Maybe another year, I don't know. I might use it for some type of lead man. I might have my own lead manager type of agent, maybe if things are looking good. But right now, as it stands, things aren't as great as social media posts make it to be. I'm not saying it's not going to be good. I'm not saying that it sucks. I'm a big believer in it. I think there's going to be a lot of things that personally, this is just my own take, but I think it's going to disrupt the workforce in 5 years maybe. You already see that with Tesla. I love the company Tesla, and they're doing some big things with it. So
Yeah, and my thing is like just within the CRM that we use right now, they just came out with some beta testing on some AI, both on the inbound and outbound side of calling, but it's not customizable. So I tried it, and they don't say the things I would say, and I can't change it. So one example, they say, well, we will buy your property and pay all closing costs. So whatever the offer is, that's what goes in your pocket. That's not what I do, and I can't customize it. So now that part of that, you know, um, CRM that I use is virtually useless to me just because of that one little nugget that I would never say. Now, of course, there's deals where we do pay closing costs, but I don't want to be pigeonholed into that every time. So that's another tangent that I could go off on, but we don't have time for all that. So, um, Paul, what's one question I should have asked you that I didn't? Whether it's about OmniDrip or investing or follow-up campaigns, whatever you think.
I can't think of anything besides how to get a hold of me. But if they just go if you can just my website. You mentioned your link, Generations of Wealth / OmniDrip. With that, through that link, you can get some samples, a demo of how to properly like the 10,000 foot view of what that pipeline looks like for follow-up. All the different steps we take, all the sequences you might want or need in the follow-up, and get a sample of what it works. Do what you wish with that. Do it meaning, hey, use it as a piece for credibility to contact me even further, or use it to build your own. It's up to you. But yeah, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me is through that link.
Okay, so thegenerationsofwealth.com/OmniDrip. Paul, thank you so much. This is stuff that I don't think is talked about enough, and I appreciate you taking the time today to share your expertise.
I appreciate being here, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, for the rest of you listening, now you know you have no excuses. If you're not closing deals, not getting deals, go back and look at your leads. Are you really nurturing them the way you're supposed to be? Maybe, maybe not. So until the next show, go out there, do some deals, live your vision, and love your life. See ya.